Good morning and welcome to the morning call. It's Monday, April 7th, 2025. What's the headlines this morning, Dave?
Again, Neil, we gotta talk about the markets. We gotta talk about Trump's tariffs. They're impacting everything today. As I don't know if you've looked at your ticker yet, but the markets are in free fall. It's going crazy.
The Trump tariffs and terror. It's a good Monday morning to wake up on and try to figure out what to do this week.
This is going to be it's going to be quite the roller coaster. I think just given where everything in the healthcare industry comes from. I mean, prescription drugs, supplies, everything is coming from overseas.
Well, really kind of just adds to all the other uncertainty. Medicaid, conversations that we're having, hopefully in the lower middle market, activities are still going on. Obviously, a lot of concern. Well, let's get to the news then this morning.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Here's morning deal sheet, our morning news roundup.
I know deals are still getting done in the lower middle market, as we see in the dental space. Dental lab, KKR, Comvest, with the dental lab, we're seeing more activity in that space.
Yep.
We remain active in revenue cycle. Cotivity here acquiring Edifex. That's a really large transaction as the data and revenue cycle. And locally, MedSpa has been hot here in Columbus, Ohio. Phase 4, getting a partner with Wildcat.
That's going to be an interesting deal.
Hot.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one to keep an eye on to see how that whole thing plays out.
I know my wife spends enough money on her meds. Did I say that?
I'll deny it. I don't know if anyone out there listening will be on the same page, but I hear you.
So Neil, would you throw med spa into a larger category of longevity? Like this all focuses around how do I live my best life?
I mean, longevity's been hot, but I think longevity is just a little bit of a redo of wellness.
Sure.
But
if I feel good about myself, I'll participate.
No, it's just trying to make sure you look good here on the camera this morning. I think that's really what it is. And then, of course, the investors love it. We love it because it's recurring revenue. You can't just go in once. You have to go back, a little nip, a little tuck. My chin sagging. I need to go back and get a microdermabrasion and then next thing, a little face. I don't call it a lift. There's a little tuck. There's a little tightening. A lot of different services out there.
Hey, John, this next one is up for you. Science Exchange bolsters life science procurement with Happy Labs acquisition. We've got a little lab space action going on.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a very interesting area because of the restructuring of the NIH grants, reducing the overhead amount from around 53% to 15%. The New York Times did a really good job of highlighting universities in your state and what is the probable impact of that. Many universities are going to have to think about what to do with their labs. I think one of the things to understand too is if you are in genetics, the lab that you have looks different than if you have a lab that's focused on cardiology. You don't need a centrifuge, maybe you need something else. And so therefore, these universities built out labs for specific use cases. And we're going to have to think about how to deal with those. So this is a fun way of approaching an issue that will become either a stranded asset or at least an increase in inventory of lab space. So how do we deal with that? I think it'll be a fun one to noodle over for the next, probably, even though we're on a pause right now, I think it's something we have to think about for the next 6 to 9 months.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I think the next deal that we were highlighting here this morning is Clearview Capital investing in Advantage Behavioral Health. This is near and dear to my heart. I do think this is an interesting and a great acquisition for Clearview. Advantage is for those who aren't familiar with it, it's a full spectrum. It's a platform deal in behavioral health for ClearSpace. I think it'll be interesting given where we are in terms of CMS funding and kind of understanding the kind of where we are with Medicaid and Medicare, how this is all going to play out. Advantage is not necessarily a Medicare centric or Medicaid centric provider, but as we all know, that kind of sets the base and the floor for a lot of these things. So I do think that this investment by Clearview does show that the market is still really trying to figure out the behavioral health space, and still has some confidence that there's really a lot of opportunity still left in the space.
And Clearview is no stranger to behavioral health. They've had success in
no.
the recent past with several investments.
Correct.
Something that I'm thinking about is that Beacon Health has acquired Ascension's Southwest Healthcare Network. That seems like a very interesting move because, this is the opportunity for an Indiana hospital to get into Michigan, which has more favorable Medicaid reimbursement rates. But what we've seen so far is that cross-border mergers has not necessarily translated into operational efficiencies and therefore higher revenue. So let's take a look at this over the next few months and see how this shapes up, particularly as we have some potential changes to the Medicare reimbursement across the entire country.
Here's another one.
Senior living activity still remains. Some of these nursing homes that have struggled coming out of COVID, we're starting to see transact. Aside from trying to convert to behavioral health, we're talking to many operators that are trying to reposition their assets.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting one. Pinnacle's a good sized company. They've got decent operations. Again, I think this space is going to be a little bit slow still in the next several months, but we'll see what happens. This could be interesting. I don't at this point have enough information to speak intelligently about this one, just from an operational standpoint and from a strategy standpoint. I can't speak to it intelligently, but I do think as a space, we do have to figure out what we're doing with skilled nursing. I mean, and assisted living. These spaces are kind of still upside down from the pandemic. 2 years on, we have to figure out what's going to happen.
Dave, that's a great point. I had just gotten back from Modern Healthcare's Playbook 2030. 2030 is the year in which there is a demographic shift where the population of people age 65 and over will become larger than the population of 15 and younger. And all the talk was how do we deal with this nursing shortage? A workforce that wants to behave differently, meaning I want flexibility. How do the two interact? Let's see where AI has a home there.
Well, let's get on to the venture news, some of the more growth investments. Solar Health secures 3.8 Kindred Capital, Y Combinator. So definitely seeing activity, and that behavioral health still remains active with technology. The new model here, the ICHRAs, definitely seeing activity within this payer model with the employer choice.
Yep.
AI. It continues to attract capital, and ultimately, we think help in different ways. It's still the workflows, the opportunities, and the value. Still a lot of unknowns, but people are working to apply it. The big thing that we've been seeing is the voice coming in with the AI scribes and ultimately the voice recognition.
Ambient listening and scribing, yeah. Well, we do, as you've shown here, or we're talking about here, like rapid claims and the AI-powered revenue cycle solutions. I really believe that is where we're seeing some great investments that are showing returns. Now, granted, we're also talking about bot wars, where the payer has their bots to pick out where they're most likely to be able to secure denials at the same time. On the opposite side, the provider's saying, no, I can thwart that. I can anticipate and make corrections. I think you'll see a lot of continued investment in that space, in the revenue cycle space with AI.
And lastly, we've got Ohio-based OrthoBrain picking up $7.5 million funding. I know, speaking recently with the CEO founder, that they have been picking up some of the capital here to continue to expand, getting some great traction with their AI solution, and also now a liner. So really excited to kind of keep an eye on OrthoBrain as they grow and expand.
Yeah, that's a good Ohio company. That's going to be for us.
Have some great investors with all the usual Ohio suspects. Well, join us for the Healthcare Capital Markets Innovation Summit coming up here end of May. Join us in Columbus for deal making partnership. Really excited to continue to have a lot of the private equity, venture, leading executives, growing, finding partners, hospital innovators, and healthcare venture studios this year. So please join us end of May for the Healthcare Capital Markets Innovation Summit, Columbus, Ohio. We've got a special code, LECO200, to save $200. Anything else we need to talk about? It's going to be a busy week, so really excited. Thank you for joining us. And look forward to seeing you next week. I'm Neil Johnson, Managing Partner, Lawrence Evans & Company, and my colleagues Dave Opalek and John Ziegler.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate everyone taking the time.
Stay calm. Stay calm.
Easier said than done, John. Thanks.